This is going to be a small talk about an issue that seems to be a big deal in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands we have Sinterklaas, which is the foundation of the American Santa Claus. And Sinterklaas has helpers which we call Zwarte Piet. And for some reason, and I'm flabbergasted to be honest, but for some reason there are a huge amount of people thinking that Zwarte Piet is a symbol of racism because he must be a slave to Sinterklaas. And they like to protest their bit and they like to show the world how oppressed Zwarte Piet must be. And yeah, I said a lot of people, but it's more than a handful, but it's not a huge amount. But this organization that's so against Zwarte Piet likes to make sure that when they protest, they do so when Sinterklaas and Zwarte Piet are coming into the Netherlands in front of, if at all possible, loads of little kids who are not aware of what's going on or why it is going on, but they have to suffer this social justice attitude. But the people protesting do not recognize the history of Zwarte Piet. Zwarte Piet was invented, if you want to call it that, by a writer who was part of an organization in the Netherlands that worked tirelessly to end slavery. He wasn't meant to be a slave, he was meant to be a strong and independent black man. And this is something his character keeps showing. But it's not good enough, is it? It seems though that the strong character that Zwarte Piet was supposed to be isn't the sort of strong character that these new social justice warriors seem to think it should be. And funny enough, one of Dutch more famous people, well, in the Netherlands she is Silvana. And she joined a political party called Think, which I can only assume is meant to be sarcastic, because this is a party that's got started by two Dutch Turks, or Turkish people who live in the Netherlands, that were part of another political party, but that political party had problems with how Erdogan was interfering in Dutch society. And they didn't like it, so they started their own political party. And now Silvana has joined that political party because she's against Zwarte Piet. Well, I guess I might not understand what you mean with racism and discrimination. But Silvana, are you sure this is what you want? Because you talk how people should not be discriminated against, and then you join a political party that basically got started because they feel that the Turkish government should be able to discriminate against Turks not living in Turkey. So, and this is how you go for equality. You do not think that this might show hypocrisy at all? So how fair do you think this is? I mean, seriously. But it's getting worse though. I mean, it's not as bad as people dying, but it's still pretty bad. In 2011 in Dordrecht in the Netherlands, the first time there was a demonstration against Black Piet, Zwarte Piet, because he's supposed to be a symbol of racism. And these upstanding social justice warriors, of course, had to do the protest when there was the celebration of Sinterklaas coming into the country. This is a child's feast. Most of the people there are parents and little children. And this is where they chose to protest something. So, yeah, of course, this is a good way to start things, don't you think? And it's sheer stupidity that people are protesting something that's been written to be a symbol against slavery by an organization that was pretty much the main reason why slavery is banned in the Netherlands, and then call that symbol a slave. But it's not even just the Dutch that do this. It comes with a nice little joke from the United Nations. Madam Verena Shepherd, working for the United Nations, is a social historian from Jamaica. And she felt it would be nice, necessary and smart to drop in a few cents in the bag as well. And I know it's an attack on the person and perhaps not nice, but when I think about safe societies, Jamaica is not one of them. But Verena Shepherd doesn't understand that we still want to celebrate Sinterklaas and Zwarte Piet when tradition has shown that you can already celebrate Sinterklaas without Zwarte Piet, because this is what they do in America, isn't it? Well, no, it isn't. What they celebrate in America is Santa Claus, which is a completely different story. It's based on Sinterklaas, but that's where the comparison falls short. And yes, Santa Claus is not being helped by black people, he's being helped by elves. But black people are at least people. Yeah, but they're slaves. No, they're not. They must be slaves because they're black? How racist is that? I mean, seriously, is that what you're saying? Yeah, well, this is weird. But you know what? Let's assume that Black Pete is indeed the epitome of racism. I mean, it must be the worst thing that's going on in Dutch society at the moment, considering the amount of time we waste on it. But let's claim that this is indeed the case. So, shall we then stop having Black Petes? Shall we only have Turkish, Chinese, whites, whatever, but no more Black Petes? How long do you think it will take them to start to call that racism? But no, they are pushing for freaks, goldens, Zwarte Piet, greens, purple, hell, polka dotted even, I guess. But these are not people. And you can say about Zwarte Piet what you want, whether you want to claim that he is a slave or not, but he at least is a person. How many golden people do you know? How many green people do you know? And I'm not talking about their environmental stance. I'm talking about their skin color. And no, not all black people are behind this stupid push to make Zwarte Piet look like a slave. But a few of them, social justice warrior elites, I guess, and Madam Shepherd of the United Nations. And the United Nations, who in all their hypocrisy is thinking that Zwarte Piet might be racist, but another black character in Iran, that's okay. That's normal. And yes, I know Iran is a complete different culture than ours, and it's a completely different nation, and the whole history is different. But how come the Iranian version is not racist, but the Dutch version is, even though the Dutch version was designed, invented by someone who fought against slavery? And it's even worse. The Iranian version is called Haji Firuz. And Haji is a word or a name that is often used for slave. Well, it's also used for people who go to Mecca, but it's also used for slave. But this is, according to the United Nations, heritage, and is protected. But Zwarte Piet? No. And I won't lie, I don't know the whole story of Haji Firuz, and it might not be that racist, but in all fairness, it's a black guy that travels with an old guy with a white beard, and they come to celebrate in the new year. And okay, they celebrate in the new year, so that's different, but it's a black guy coming with a white guy who is leading the procession. This is recognizable, isn't it? And for some reason, Zwarte Piet, according to the United Nations, or at least to someone from the United Nations, is a symbol of racism and slavery, even though that very character was used to abolish slavery in the Netherlands in 50 something. Yet Haji Firuz is part of a culture that abolished slavery in 1928. So that was a little bit later. And the character itself may or may not be a slave, but the name implies that he is. Is the United Nations really this hypocrite? Well, I'm saying yes. But yeah, it is kind of weird that these two cultures, the Dutch and the Iranian, have both, how do you call it, heritage in a white guy with a black guy helping him. And they both are there to celebrate something, and they both give gifts, and they both have the white guy as being, how do you call it, old, and the black guy as being young and frivolous. And on one of those two, he's a slave, and on the other one, he's protected. I don't get this. I seriously can't put my head around that. And I'm not here to attack the cultural heritage of Iran. I mean, Haji Firuz can be a great character. I don't know it, so I don't know. But how come people who don't know Zwarte Piet are attacking Zwarte Piet? I mean, does that make sense to you? You have no idea what you're talking about, yet still you complain. Then maybe read up on it first. But yeah, it is weird that a heritage thing in culture A is okay, but a heritage thing in culture B that looks about the same is not okay. And I could be wrong, and I could say something nasty like, well, yeah, obviously, I mean, Zwarte Piet is in a predominantly white culture, therefore it's racism, because in white culture racism has been banned, but Haji Firuz is in a predominantly Muslim religious area, and they still allow slavery. Well, not Iran. Iran said they stopped it, and therefore the United Nations is pointing their arrows at the Dutch. Not even to Jamaica. I mean, it's not as if that country has no problems, and it's unfair of me to make it about other people's problems. But it is equally unfair to claim that Zwarte Piet is about racism and he is a slave, when the whole story of him is 100% the opposite. Anyway, I find myself repeating myself, therefore I think it's a good idea to call this movie to an end. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and share. And if you have any questions at all, criticism as usual is always welcome. And I would love to hear what you think.